and welcome back to our channel. We're Megan Morgs, and in today's video we are starting our new series, which is in country number 6. So we're in Cambodia.
We arrived sort of in the afternoon, evening sort of time, and we were instantly met by what was told sort of to us by the locals as a pretty biblical rainstorm. The roads, as you'll see from the videos, I'll put them up now, were like completely flooded, probably like up to your knees if you were walking.
It was absolutely crazy.
Insane. We'd never seen a flood like it.
Straight into the deep end. We were sort of rethinking all our decisions. But as you can see behind us, we've got bright blue sunny skies today. So we're happy with that. This
guy behind us is definitely going to try and sell us a tour as well. He's got a one of those little cards in his hand. But
it was insane. Like everybody's engines were getting flooded and cutting out.
Mental.
It was crazy. We
had to spend some time sort of like sheltering under a petrol station roof, didn't we, with like 50 to 100 like motorbike drivers.
We got out of the tuk-tuk and we were like knees deep in water. It was just insane. The bottom floor of our hostel was flooded. All the electricity was out.
She said that the hostel hasn't flooded in the whole time that they'd had it open, and they've been open for over 3 years. So just our luck that we sort of turned up on like the worst rain and flood in 3 years. But yeah, lovely weather now, but it's hot as ever, like 35. We haven't really had much respite from the heat of Vietnam, but we've just come down to near the Royal Palace and Silver Pagoda. We were recommended to come and visit this area just because, I mean, look at the building behind us, it's beautiful.
So nice.
But I think it's $10 each to get in, which seems a bit steep just because you just walk around the palace and the pagoda. But we're down by the riverside.
We're just going to have a walk around and share some of our sort of first impressions of Cambodia.
Yeah, exactly.
We had a nice lunch. It was cheap and cheerful.
I think it's called the 72 restaurant. It's excellent, like $2 for all the dishes, unlimited rice.
Yeah, I would recommend it.
Good morning. So hopefully it's not too noisy up here on our hotel balcony. But today Megan and I are going to head out to the S21 prison and the killing fields to explore a bit of the tragic events that happened in Cambodia's not so distant history. So I'm sure if you've seen videos about Cambodia before, you will know the story very well. But if not, I'd like to sort of give you a short summary, while hopefully also doing the story justice of the events that happened here in the 1970s. But for a longer and more detailed sort of description of the things that went on, I'll leave a link in the description to a video that's, you know, pretty concise, probably like 10 minutes or something like that, but it'll give you a good idea about the events that went on. So Pol Pot, the leader of the Khamer Rouge, who committed all the atrocities in Cambodia between 1975 and 79, came into power after a long power struggle in the country after the French Indochina Empire was sort of dissolved and the French left, and also off the back of the Vietnam War as well, when the Americans had a lot of bombing in southern Cambodia. Pol Pot was sort of offering a better Cambodia for people that followed him, and many people signed up to support him in order to they were hoping for a better Cambodia and for change, similar to the ways that Germans sort of subscribed to Hitler's ideologies with the Nazis in the 1930s. But soon after coming into power in 1975, Pol Pot sent everyone from the cities out into the countryside because he wanted to basically reset the clock. He wanted Cambodia to be a farming nation. He wanted to be self-sufficient. He wanted crop yields to be 3 times higher than what they were. He didn't want to rely on anything or anyone, as well as sort of resetting the clocks, if you like. Pol Pot sort of saw everyone that wasn't Cambodian as well as an enemy of the state. So all the Laotians, Thai, Vietnamese, Chinese, you name it, everyone was an enemy of the state. They were taken to prison camps like the S21 that we'll be visiting later today, tortured, murdered. You know, many people didn't make it out of those camps. I think the S21 camp that we'll be visiting today, there was over 18,000 people killed there, and I think only a couple of hundred survivors, just to sort of give you some perspective, if you like, over it. And over the reign of the Khamer Rouge, I think it was a quarter of the population of Cambodia that were killed just over a short 4-year period. So, you know, to put that into perspective, it's sort of, if you think of you and 3 of your friends, you know, one of you wouldn't make it. And they had a horrible saying that I've been told that, you know, if there was one person that disagreed with the regime, you know, they would take them to the prisons and they would kill them. But it's not just them, they would take the whole families too, because, you know, they didn't want anyone to come back for revenge basically against them. But this continued in Cambodia for, you know, 4 long years, and it got progressively worse as time went on. The Khamer Rouge became increasingly paranoid that more and more people were defecting, realising how bad the regime were. The people that worked for Pol Pot, you know, that most of them only did so out of fear of death. You know, the party that they signed up for a better Cambodia, you know, they didn't realise at the time what they were really getting themselves into. And those that sort of joined later were most of them done sort of by force. And, you know, again, out of fear of death. It's a terrible story, and many of those that worked for the Khamer Rouge after everything came out were seen as victims of it as well. Eventually, though, the regime ended after Khmer Rouge defectors and Vietnamese soldiers re-invaded the country and pushed the Khmer Rouge out to the west. And the scary thing is, I think, because these things happened in, you know, the 1970s, the people that were affected are still walking the streets with us today. You know, older people that you meet, they will have had to have gone through this period, and it's just crazy to think. I mean, my grandparents, for example, would have been in their 30s at the time. They would have been the people that would have been, you know, impacted by this, and it's a scary thought that something like this happened less than 50 years ago. But I hope this has sort of just given you a brief insight into the events that happened in the 1970s here, and I do implore you to sort of do your own research and look into it, because I feel like it's a story that hasn't been told enough around the world, and certainly not something that I or Megan learned when we were in school. So yeah, I'll leave that video in the description for you, and just, yeah, watch it. It's extremely sad to sort of see the way that people were treated, you know, women, children, just sort of needlessly murdered just because of, you know, them being educated or them not being the right person to fit the regime. And yeah, it's just incredibly sad, and it does make you wonder, you know, why as humans we do these sorts of things to each other. We're going to head out now, and we probably won't show you much when we're there, just because I think there's lots of obviously no filming policies, and we just want to be respectful and take it all in really, and we can give you our honest opinions and reactions afterwards. It's not necessarily a pleasant thing to spend your day doing, but as Megan rightfully told me earlier, it's an important part of this country's history. You know, you come to a country to explore and embrace the culture, and this is part of the culture. This is their recent history, and you know, we're going to be respectful and we want to learn as much as we can about it. Well, that was extremely emotional for us both. I mean, it's hard to imagine really the sort of stuff that went on just in that place that we were, and yeah, just being there and seeing it all in front of you is, yeah, almost too much to bear really. And
it's really hard, but I think anyway, it's really important just to get a better understanding of sort of the country that we're travelling and the people. Yeah, but it was so harrowing, I can't describe it at all. And then at the end, there's sort of there was these 3 men who are obviously survivors of the prison, and they were sort of selling their book. It's just so emotional and hard hitting. Morgan wasn't quite sure on whether it was something that he wanted to see. Just because I'd sort of done my research in the past and knew of the story, and I don't know, I kind of feel like it's a bit of a weird one, like almost a sort of like a blood tourism where people are sort of going to see horrible things that have happened, and part of me feels like I should, obviously it's important to know about, but maybe, yeah, it's a bit intrusive for those that have been affected. And I don't know, would I want people to come and look at pictures maybe of my dead family members and, yeah, you know, everything, the horrible things that happen to them? But then in the same sense, you could say that, you know, people would want you to be there to sort of
for the awareness of it all. And I think ultimately the reason that we want to learn about things like this in society is that we can hope that people would never do it again. But you know, obviously we know that humanity is sort of not that way inclined. We didn't do any filming in there just because lots of the places obviously had no filming signs on, but I don't know, again, just one of those sort of, yeah, exactly, it's a respect thing, like, I don't know. But yeah, there's like people having their photographs taken, and that's the sort of tourism that, like, I don't like the look of and wouldn't want to be a part of myself. So it's just one of those things. But yeah, like we said before, it's just an important thing to come and do. Makes you feel lucky that we're living in a society now where, you know, we are free. And
I think as well, like, it really wasn't that long ago.
That's the thing, like,
you know, like, it was,
both of our parents were alive at this time, you know, they were children,
like, they
at
were,
the point where all this was going on.
It was so recent that there were survivors back then. It's just,
yeah,
very hard hitting.
Yeah, when I saw those guys that were, you know, sat there selling their books about their stories and things like that, Megan said to me when we were in there, she just wanted to go up and give them a hug, like, and say how sorry she felt for everything that had happened to them. And it is that feeling, like, it just makes it real, and it is all a bit much. But for the next stop, we're going to head on to the killing fields, a similar sort of, I guess, a museum or a relic to the Pol Pot regime when people were taken and murdered. And yeah, we'll talk to you about that when we're there. And again, we probably won't do much filming, but we'll speak to you about it afterwards. It's been a few days since we last spoke to you. When we arrived at the killing fields, we only had a short amount of time to walk around. Luckily, we managed to sort of get the audio tour almost finished, but just before it started raining like crazy again. You know, it was one of those where the road started flooding, and then we had that some food in that Greek restaurant, like that we spoke to you about before. And then sort of we were leaving Phnom Penh the next day, and then we just realised that we didn't really get round to finishing off this video. But,
I think the audio guides are really good. They offer you so much more insight and knowledge. You know, take your time walking around these places, take it in. It's very emotional. So if you are one of those people who jam-packs your itinerary, take the afternoon off just to sort of think, because you do feel really emotional when you come away from it.
Yeah, you definitely need some time to sort of like think and process things. And yeah, there was a good film on Netflix that I watched as well. It was called First They Killed My Father. I think it was like made by Angelina Jolie, and it was, although not sort of like an amazing movie, I think it's something that they said told the story about as well as anything that's been made by Hollywood, and gave like a true perspective of sort of things that had happened, because it was based on a book of like a survivor and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd recommend watching that film. And then obviously we talked earlier about watching the video I'll put in the description, just if you want to sort of do your own research. But yeah, the killing fields was incredibly moving, just like the prison. It was just strange to think about everything that happened just in the place that you're standing, and it's kind of hard to put yourself
I think
there.
It's hard to fathom what actually happened as well at such a huge scale.
Yeah, it's crazy.
If, you know, for our time in Cambodia, how many of the people and locals that we're meeting have directly been impacted, whether that be through themselves or their family. It's just...
Yeah, and then the fighting continued all the way up until like 1998, which was when we were both born.
I think it's very important to go, do your research, and I think it helps you understand Cambodia a lot more.
Yeah, and also appreciate like everyone and how lovely they are, and
definitely,
just because like lots of people have been through so much, and then they still put on a happy face, and so many of the people we met so far are so lovely. Yeah. But yeah, we hope this video's sort of been informative for you, maybe inspired you to do some of your own research into everything that happened, because like I said before, you know, it's not something that Megan and I learnt about at school.
No.
But yeah, we hope it's been informative for you, and we'll see you on a brighter note when we head down to the south to Kampot.
And as always, we'll see you in the next one.